Hello, I'm Darragh with Diff, and I'm joined today by Alana and Laura to talk about the film Beasts Clawing at Straws by Young-Hun Kim. So the film itself is about four individuals from South Korea who all get wrapped up in a crime at all at different points in time. That's as vague as I'm going to leave it because I think it's actually worth watching, and anything else would very much spoil the film. But I think I want to jump into kind of seeing what you guys think of it.
Yeah, overall, like I really enjoyed the movie. I do like those kind of crime thriller things. I think it is kind of very obvious that the film does have influences of like Tarantino and the Coen brothers, and there is that kind of little bit you don't really see it unless you're looking for it. It's kind of like Hitchcock suspense,
Hmm.
where you are kind of like what's around the corner, and obviously since it is kind of evolving around this crime, you're like danger's always around the corner. And yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. I liked how all the characters, how all the stories interlocked, and how it was all kind of resolved at the end. So yeah, overall I think I'd give about an 8 out of 10. It loses 2 points for not indicating that it was a non-linear narrative.
I I'm not really a fan of those. I don't go out of my way to watch those kind of films, but I really enjoyed this. Like I really enjoyed it, and even the non-linear kind of sequence, the way it went, the way it was, um, I don't know,
Format.
yeah, the way it was formatted, kind of.
Professionals.
Yeah, but I was confused, but it was written in such a way that it didn't really lose me. You know, like I was, some people get confused, they kind of give up halfway through a movie, but like I was in it, and then when everything fell into place, I was like, oh wow, oh my god. And from there on, it was kind of like a fill in the blanks almost, was it? Yeah, something like that. So
Yeah.
like I thought it was really well done, and the way all the stories like were interwoven was really skilled and really wonderful. Like for the director, he wrote and directed it for his first feature length film. I thought it was really excellently done. I really enjoyed it.
Just bouncing off of that, like piecing it together. The movie starts with a news broadcast saying about a murder, and that's basically the half point of the film. That's the half point of the story. And watching as you slowly like piece it together that this is, I meant to say piece. I don't know why I said there. Piece it together that this is a story told in different parts. You kind of catch up to that, and you're filling in those blanks. It is quite satisfying to watch. But the thing
Yeah,
I kind of took from it that I think was kind of weird was the music. There was this silly element to the movie. Like it was a bit wacky at times. Like every character had a bit of a quirk. Like the guy with the knife had a bowl cut or whatever, and like a bunch of tattoos, and would always just smile when just pull out a knife at any like opportunity.
He just had a
Or
knife in a fanny pack, and
yeah, he really did. And I
it's
loved
like
like
time to
his
murder.
delight whenever he got to pull it out. He's like, oh, but that's still terrifying. How the movie was able to give across the story, but also had this solid element of humor towards it. Like, it was very. It, it made some of the scenes more uncomfortable when they would have just been more standard, and I think that brought a lot of life to the film.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it was very smart and witty while being really dark as well.
I think just like the way the characters held themselves, because like there's only one kind of story that has a solid protagonist for the film, a solid like good character. I'd say like a good guy, let's call it, or a good family. But even then, his family is quite like wild. He snaps at his boss saying like, "Youngin, you don't understand," and it's stuff like that. It just really does bring an air of life to it. It's not everyone's dreary and drow. There's sadness here, but there's
Yeah.
still some joy.
Yeah, it's quite lighthearted for what it is. I think it really takes the film to another level, which I really enjoyed.
I was worried at
And
the
when it,
end. I was worried for him at the end. Like obviously when like the mob boss came and the woman came and they got the money, and she went, "There's one missing," and he was like, "I used it to pay for my daughter's tutorial." He was like, "I can pay it back," but then she just went, "It's fine." I was like, "Yes, he's gonna live." I
and
was
they
expecting
got
her to like
conked out.
snap.
Yeah. No, but I really liked her performance as Yeon Hee, Jeon Do Yeon. I thought, because her character switched between so many different personas, I think it was really well done. Like as the boss, in the first one, she was kind of helping the other woman, you know, she was, and I was like, oh, great. It's like, women supporting women. We love that. You don't really see that in these movies. And then she kills her,
switches to women
which
murdering
is
women.
like,
She pulls out the buzzsaw.
like, but I thought her character was really well portrayed. I thought it was, I was glued to her every time she was on screen. I thought she was really good. Even like when she killed the policeman, and then to her boyfriend, she was like, "Oh, hell, you know."
It's just poking people, like get rid of him.
Yeah, like just to be able to switch like that, I think is
a true psychopath, I believe.
Yeah. I think a highlight of her performance was when, like, there was this big tense scene. The policeman, her boyfriend, and her are sitting at the table, and he's like, "You have that tattoo. What did you do?" And she just leans in and kisses him and goes, "What are you gonna do with it?"
Yeah. So yeah, I killed someone. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it?
I'll do it again.
But yeah, I really
just do it again. She kills like 3 people then.
Yeah, she does. Kills like half the people she sees until a smiley knife boy comes in.
So what did you guys think of the ending of it, where like none of them got the money and it was just?
But I thought, the way that final shot mirrored with the opening shot, which was the shot from the middle of the movie, I thought it kind of almost was like you're starting a new adventure, like something else might happen, and then it just ends.
Yeah, but then you kind of realize like she's safe, like everyone who wants the money is dead.
Yeah.
But then you kind of have to think, is it the money that corrupts it? Is this going to keep going? Is this just a cycle of violence down to money?
Yeah, I think it leaves it really open-ended. That's what I really like about it.
And that's what I think kind of works about non-linear storytelling. And I'd like to move on to that. Like, what do you think? How do you think movies handle that? Do they do it well? Do they do it not? Or like other films outside of this? Is there anything that comes to mind for you guys?
I think the best way to handle non-linear storytelling is to have an indicator that it is non-linear. Like for me, the example that comes to mind is 2019's Little Women, where lighting played a big part in that. So like when the girls are younger and the children, everything's bright and vibrant and colorful and very summery. Whereas cut to 7 years later, when they're kind of grown-ups and, you know, like either they're married or like when Beth is sick and like Joe's kind of struggling to be a writer, everything's it's a bit more dull. It's kind of like grayer tones, which makes it easy, obviously, to differentiate when it's jumping back and forth. And it also does kind of show that along the way, the girls have they've grown up, they've had to almost lose that childhood innocence. Like obviously more mainstream with non-linear, we think Tarantino. And even then it is kind of like, I'd say about, he has 9 films, I'd say about 7 of those are non-linear. I'm not sure about Django. Django's the only one I haven't seen. But yeah, like they're mostly
no, I don't think it is. I've seen it. Maybe a couple flashbacks. Otherwise, it's fairly standard.
Yeah, and obviously there's a difference between like non-linear time and flashbacks. Like American History X is told through flashbacks, and we're made very aware it's flashbacks because obviously anything that's in the past is black and white, whereas anything that's present is in color. And so yeah, like as long as you can differentiate, if you can show the audience very clearly that this is a non-linear narrative, I think it would be easier for them to enjoy.
And I think in Beasts, that was kind of one of its main weaknesses, was not letting the audience know that, hey, we're going back here a little bit to show you the lead up to what's happening now. And while I think personally that it was quite well done and it didn't lose me, I think that it still could have used an indicator.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And I think that's why non-linear isn't really all that. Like you bring up Tarantino, but there's no other real directors that come to mind when you talk about nonlinear. Like there's always the big twist of say like if something's a big reveal at the end or like the movie was happening backwards or whatever, but it's never someone telling a story from different periods, properly telling different stories from different periods. Is that a crutch Hollywood falls on? Is that like they're afraid to not tell stories in more abstract kind of ways, or is it a genuine concern that this is just not a valid way of telling stories properly a lot?
I don't know if Hollywood's afraid because, like, again, with Little Women, the way they had the nonlinear time, all the clips kind of related, like past and present. Like when they were talking about, like when it showed Beth being sick in the past, that was kind of, that would happen like maybe straight after or straight before a clip of Beth being sick in the present. So the clips do make sense. Another, I would like to see more nonlinear ways of storytelling, as long as Hollywood does it right and it tells me it's nonlinear.
Yeah.
Is it more of a there needs to be better devices to show that, or do you think that you can have something like Beasts where it doesn't just drop you in? Is there something else they could have done to help fix that? That's not just a narrator spelling things out. I don't want to say like they spelled everything out or anything. I just think is there anything more subtle that films could do to help an audience?
Like in Little Women, you said the lighting and kind of the feel of the film was different when they were younger versus when they were older, you know?
Yeah.
So I think even little things like that, like changing up the lighting, changing how the camera moves, little things can make a big difference because the audience picks up on that subconsciously. I think that is a really good subtle way of indicating what time period the film kind of jumps back and forth. Yeah, I think there's ways and means to do it, and there's points where you can, and then there's other points where there's no point and it'll just confuse people.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, but I think Beasts did it really well. Like it was necessary in the storytelling because obviously you had the characters who you needed that backstory for in order to understand the story. So
I think even if you look at it not from that, Beasts is split into chapters. That's the narrative device it uses. And it all the stories follow the same theme of that chapter. So it's easier to follow along even if you don't see them as the same timeline. You're like, oh well, I see the themes, I can follow the stories along on their own.
Yeah, and that helped a lot, I think, in not losing people until you got to the point where you were like, oh, this is what's happening.
Yeah, until that point where you see her open the boot of a car and you see the Louis Vuitton bag that you know has the cash in it because you've seen it at the start of the film.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh, okay, I now understand what's happening. Now I know why all these characters are interlocked.
이제부터 인생 새로 시작하는 거야.
지금 더 의심하는 거예요?
뒤통수 맞는 기분이 어떠냐?
처음 들어왔을 때는 아무도 믿으면 안 돼. 그게 네 부모라도.
For other reviews, written, video, podcasting, check out the Dublin International Film Festival website. There's about over 30 of us, young critics, making content, and you're sure to enjoy something. So I hope you all enjoy. I've been Darragh, this has been Alana and Laura, and thank you all so much for watching.
Bye.